Welcome, folks, back to Dominant Mets Nation. And you know what, folks? It is in the books. The Mets have played their first series of 2025. And, folks, we got to talk. We have to talk, and let's talk. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the damn ugly. Because, folks, there are things we could have took from this series or can take for this series and be happy about. There are things that have to be better, and there are things that must be better. And folks, I'm gonna tell you when it's time. Let me address this first because there's some people panicking already. All right, they're panicking. They're going a little bit of the overreaction. I'm going to let you know when it's time to overreact. It is not time to overreact. The Mets are 1-2, and quite frankly, every single one of these games was winnable. The Mets could be 3-0, but they're not. They're certainly not. And let's start off with the bad. The bats. The bats are quite frankly still in spring training, still sleeping. Francisco Lindor, him leading the charge of not getting it done, 0 for 11 in the first 3 games. And you know what? We saw in the second half of last year, or from June on, the lineup went as Lindor went. As he went in the leadoff spot and started to take off and started to hit at that superstar level, the whole lineup flowed. Okay, so you have Lindor at the top of the lineup, really not doing well, and notorious. Lindor has notoriously been a slow starter. Hopefully, he gets things going. For all of you who are not aware, Lindor is expecting a third child any day now. Any day now. I'm not making excuses for him, but obviously that's a very important, a significant event. He may miss a day here and there for the birth of the third child, but I'm pretty sure it's weighing on his mind right now. Again, no excuses, no excuses. The rest of the lineup, there's really no excuse for me to give. This is supposed to be a top 3 offense, and I will not give the excuse that this is early in the season and that's why the bats are all dead, because you go over to the New York Yankees and they just put up a 20 spot, folks, a 20 spot. They defeated the Brewers 20-9. For anybody who has not caught that, Aaron Judge hit 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, freaking domination from the Yankees lineup. This is supposed to be a dominant lineup too, but we have yet to see the New York Mets dominate. Now, I gave them a little pass in game 1 because they were facing, I would say, a legit ace in Valdez. Tonight, facing Arrighetti, not so much. And tonight, literally getting 1 hit. Freaking 1 hit. Again, no excuse. You go up and down the lineup. The only guy who looks like, he has a clue at the bat is Juan Soto. And, I didn't get to the ugly. And folks, please stick around for the ugly because it is super, super significant, super, super substantial because my observations, the observations I'm having are not pleasant right now. They are not pleasant. In fact, let me give you a taste of it. And this is really bothering me. So, okay, the 2 things that are really bothering me is when they showed the New York Mets players reporting to game 1, game 2, and game 3. You see the players, nobody has smiles on. Everybody's walking into the stadium, and it's just like another day at work. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You want to go, it's just strictly business. That's fine. I don't see the type of energy I'm looking for. And that, quite frankly, is the ugly right now. This team has no energy, no fight, no energy. There is something missing right now. I hope they find it. The Mets are missing some key pieces in the lineup. that can contribute to the team chemistry, the energy. Alvarez, he's always been a guy who injects some life into this team, but I am not seeing the energy. I'm not seeing the fight. And like I said, the guys going to the ballpark, it's just like another day in August, and I'm not seeing it right now. But here's the most disturbing thing, folks. Listen to this. This is the most disturbing thing, and this is what I want you to comment on. Juan Soto hit his first home run yesterday, right? Hit his first home run yesterday. Yes, right? Everybody in the fan base jumped up, screamed, because this is what we've been waiting for. Juan Soto rounds the bases, right? Okay, gets the home plate, runs to the dugout. And do you know what happened? Do you know what happened when he got to the dugout? Absolutely freaking nothing. Juan Soto literally had to go to every single teammate, and it seemed like he was bothering half the teammates. Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso, Jesse Winker, everybody had their heads in their hands and looking in other directions, and he had to go to every single one and give a high five. Damn it. Every single one of those players should have been on the top step. Every single one of those players should have been going towards Juan Soto, giving him a high five. Folks, that is a problem, folks. Go Google, YouTube, look at that moment. And that is a substantial moment. I probably in my life have played on 100 teams. None of high level, high school, softball, all team. Oh, I played on good teams, bad teams, championship teams, nothing of the level of professional. But what I've seen, the teams that are the best are the teams that are close, tight-knit, the teams that root for each other, the teams that run anytime there's a huge hit. They're at the top step, waiting to greet their teammate, waiting to celebrate with their teammate. That did not happen. That is unacceptable. That is on the plate of Carlos Mendoza right now, folks. That is very, very on the plate. The energy, the ugly, the fact that this team right now had a whole offseason, a whole spring training, $330 million spent, and they are not up and ready to fight right now. Unacceptable. Should have beat the Astros. The Astros are not the Astros of last year. They are not the Astros of 4 or 5 years ago. This was a winnable series. The Astros I saw out there, everybody was out of position. Altuve left. Like I said, you got a third baseman playing right field. Besides Valdez, the pitching wasn't monumental, but they looked good against the Mets. Unacceptable. I know it's early on. I know half of you are probably saying, calm down. What are you, freaking nuts? Folks, I have to see positive results. I need to see us going in the right direction. The reason why I was so damn confident from June until the end of last year, before we got knocked out and even up against the Dodgers, is because this team had something special. They had it. A lot of times it was hard to define, hard to place your hand on it, but you knew that they were going to give it to their all. They were tight-knit. After that concert, Jose Iglesias, oh my God moment, that team came together and they became a family. And maybe this team will, and eventually have that moment, that come together moment. Not there yet. And then to look across the river at the New York Yankees, honestly, no, that's why there is super no excuse for the bats not to get going, for this team not to have that energy, for the team not to have that fight. There is no excuse for that. No excuse. And I'm going to say this. And this is what I didn't wanted to allude to. I would hope that, the Mets would take care of business early on, and this might come back to bite me. Next week, the Mets might go 6-2. They might be in first place by the end of next week. They might go on a huge run, and they have every capability to do that. I predicted they'd have at least 95 wins. But I'll tell you what I did not like. Going into this season. The example of Alexander Canario, a guy who played his behind off, brought the fight, brought the passion, had the results. But you know what? There just wasn't room for him. You had to have Starling Marte on this team, and everybody else had to have a spot. And, I'm not saying anything against them, but, it really kind of just, where is the precedent? The next guy that is going to fight for a job, he could play his behind off, but at the end of the day, if the numbers don't work, or if somebody doesn't get hurt, it really doesn't matter. I just don't like the precedent it's set. And yes, you probably had to trade away somebody, but you know what? That's where Stearns has to get a little creative. Maybe you trade Marte for a good bullpen arm. You bring Canario in here to spark something. Nimmo, he's going to have knee issues. A 24-year-old budding player would have been nice. It would have been nice. I mean, the guy has certainly not failed too much. He just hasn't had the opportunity. And to just kind of like put him on waivers really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And another thing too, Acuna, in my opinion, the guy's got all the talent in the world. All the talent in the world, right? But he didn't deserve to make this team. 560, 570 OPS in spring training. Didn't deserve to make the team. Brett Beatty, on the other hand, yes. So, you had a guy in Canario who deserved to make the team, didn't play the right position. Acuna didn't deserve, but made the team. So those were a couple of things that kind of like, didn't rub me the right way. I know it's just like small little details, but you want to give all these players good perspective. You want to set the right example. And those are a couple instances where I felt that, the right example was not set. And that's really nitpicking. Okay, so now let's get to a little more of the good. The pitchers, Holmes, Canning, McGill, this series, all three of them pitched well enough to win. All three of them. Even Holmes, who gave up 3 runs, he pitched well enough to win. How this team was built was that our offense was going to support the pitching. Houston didn't score a lot of runs. 2 runs today. They scored, what did they score? 1 run yesterday. So they haven't scored a lot of runs, and they scored 3 runs on opening day. So the pitchers did a good job. Canning today went 5 2/3, allowed 2 earned runs. Great job. McGill yesterday did well as well. And, like I said, Clay Holmes did well. Bullpen did a good job tightening the game, keeping it close. Budo, Kranick, the bullpen and the starting rotation did their job. Juan Soto did his job. But the rest of the team has to really kick it in gear, and they have to kick it in gear fast. And this, in my opinion, really all starts with Mendoza. Just so you know, Lindor, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos were a combined 4 for 42 in this series. .095, not even 100, 0.95 batting average, folks. Cannot, I repeat, cannot happen. You have all these players, Lindor, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos. Those are all the players surrounding Juan Soto in the lineup. That is a recipe for disaster. For disaster, folks. So like I said, you can take the good, you can take the bad. The good is you had a couple good starts from these guys. This is where your weakness was supposed to be. Canning, McGill, Clay Holmes. Most thought that was your weakness, but in the first series, that was your strength. So again, this is not something to worry thus far. I just see bad habits right now. I see something missing, and I see that lack of energy. And those are all things I would say are undoubtedly controllable. Those are the controllables. Those are the things you can go out there and fight. You can go out there and have energy. You could go out there and do these things that the Mets are not displaying right now. You could go out there and high-five your teammate. get on the top step, root for Juan Soto, root for Pete Alonso, root for Lindor. Everybody get your damn heads in the game and stop thinking it's game 1, 2, or 3 and focus that every single game counts, because at the end of the year, when you're one game short, game 1 was just as important as game 162. So I just want everybody right now, keep that in mind. Yes, we don't have Sean Manaea. Who cares? Who cares? Because Canning pitched well enough to win. Alvarez, we don't have Alvarez. He helps a little energy-wise in the lineup. Jeff McNeil, he adds that good veteran presence, and he also puts pressure on guys like Acuna. I don't want Acuna to go out there thinking that he's going to be in the starting lineup. I want him to earn this damn job, because this kid needs that motivation. He needs that kick in the pants. I know a lot of people didn't like what Lindor did in the beginning of the season or 2 weeks ago, but folks, I'm telling you, this kid needs a kick in the pants to play better. And I love the kid. I have high expectations for Acuna, but the fact of the reality is second base is crowded. McNeil's there, Acuna's there. Then you're gonna have Mauricio there. Then you're gonna have Jet Williams there. Then you have Brett Beatty there. So it's a damn crowded and very competitive situation. So I want the best from him. And then also for guys like Alonso, there's going to be pressure on Alonso very soon. I was hoping that he would start off, have a great series, but no. I mean, he had a couple good swings, a couple good hits, not great luck, but, he's a guy that I want him to get off to a quick early start. Not yet. Only Soto. Soto has been the only one really hitting. I need Nemo. I need Vientos. You need that top of the lineup, including Lindor. It all starts with Lindor to get going, folks. And there we go. We're going to wrap it up now. What do you think? And again, to wrap it up, I got the good, the pitchers, Canning, McGill, Holmes, the bad, the lineup, and the ugly is, I'll say this, energy / effort. What do you think, folks? Let me know. Drop a comment, like, subscribe. We got many more videos coming at you. If you're a passionate MLB fan, Mets fan, Yankees fan, any kind of fan, let's have fun together. And we will talk to you very soon. Have a great day. Congrats, Astros. Took this series from us. But I'm telling you, this is a series that the Mets, when they are clicking on all cylinders, should have certainly won. All right, folks. Have a great night, day, whenever you decide to watch this. Later, folks.